Hello students, in this session we are going to discuss Angular 6.0, which is one of the most widely used front-end framework for building modern web applications. In this unit we will cover concepts like components, modules, data binding, directives, services, routing and forms. So let us begin. Angular is a TypeScript-based front-end framework developed by Google. It is mainly used to build single-page applications. Unlike traditional websites, Angular applications do not reload the entire page. Instead, only the required content is updated. For example, consider Gmail. When you open email, the page does not reload completely. Evolution of Angular. Initially, Angular was introduced as Angular JS in 2010 using JavaScript. Later, Angular was completely rewritten using TypeScript, which provides better structure and error handling. In traditional applications, each request reload the entire page. The performance is slow, so DOM manipulation is complex. For example, if you have 50 buttons, you need to manually write JavaScript for each update. So that is the problem of the traditional web applications. The need for Angular. So Angular solves these issues by using single page architecture and providing two-way binding and supporting modular development, and this reduces code complexity. And features of Angular. Angular provides components, routing, services, forms, HTTP support, and these features make development faster and structured. The evolution of the Angular, where Angular version 1.x is the first version, and later Angular 2, Angular 4. Then Angular 5 and Angular 6. Now there is a Angular 21 version is ongoing. And these are the initial setup and configuration files. First we have to install the Angular by using the command npm install-g at angular/CLI, the CLI command line interface. Once it is installed, then we can create our new project by using the command ng new project name. Once the project is successfully created, we can enter into the project by using the command cd project name, where cd is a change directory. Once it is entered, then we can run the application or project by using the command ng serve. If it is successfully executed, we can get a localhost link where we can check our output of the application. And these are the steps. And this is the project structure. Once the new project is successfully created, you can see this project structure in your application. These are the important configuration files. Okay, what is actually a component based architecture? So here the Angular divides the application into small reusable components. For example, header, footer, sidebar, each can be a separate component. The general structure of the component is any component, it has three major files. One is TypeScript file where we can build the logic of our application, and HTML file for user interface, and CSS for style. And we can also create a number of components. The first application component will be the root component, and the remaining component, whatever component we are creating, it will act as a child component. And this is the general structure of the component, where a class can be defined as a component by using a component decorator. It contains the selector. The selector indicates the component name, and template URL indicates the path for the user interface, that is HTML file. And this is the simple component example program where you can see three major steps: import the component, define the decorator, and define the class. Module is a collection of components or collection of directives, pipes, and services. So actually these directives, components, pipes, and services are called as a Angular building blocks. So here a class can be defined as a module by using the decorator ng module, where it contains the collection of objects such as declarations, imports, and bootstrap, where declaration defines a value called array of component, and the imports whatever modules we are importing additionally for this project, all those module name can be kept inside this import as an array of value, and bootstrap which component should be started first when there is multiple components are available in the project, and what is the root component that should be kept inside the value for bootstrap. These are the steps and types of nested component, where one component can be kept inside the another component. It is called nested component. So directive where you can control, we can add or remove the DOM elements, that is from the DOM layout. Is called structural directive, or attribute directive is changing the appearance or behavior of an element. It is called as an attribute directive. For example, ng class existence of directives. These examples. Another important component of Angular is that Angular automatically synchronizes data between the component and view. And for this, there are several types of that. Such types are called as interpolation, property binding, event binding, two-way binding, simply called as ng model. So these binding helps to reduce the manual DO manipulation as well as automatic user interface updation. That is interpolation, where it is the process of binding data from component to the template using the double curly braces. And interpolation is one-way data binding where it can synchronize data from component to the template of view. So data flows in only in one direction. The syntax is we can use double curly braces to represent the interpolation. For example, in this slide, we can see TypeScript file is there, HTML file is there. In the HTML, there is a one paragraph tag called t with an value hello and interpolation with the variable name. So the value of the variable name will come from the component file. So in component file, we can see there is a variable called name with the value VCET. So when you execute this application, we will get the output hello VCET. So once the component file, the variable name value changes, it will reflect automatically in the template. So that is called data synchronization, and this is an example for interpolation. So property binding is to bind value from the component to the property of HTML element to the template. So here, whatever element we are using, every element has a property, and we can assign value for the property. So here the value for the property will become from component. This is called TypeScript file. For example, in this slide we have an image tag and source property is there, and value of the source, it is called image URL. The value for image URL will come from the component file. See, parallelly we have a component file where a class definition contains a variable called image URL, which contains a path for the actual image. So this path will be actually come from the component to the HTML file. So if you change the path in the component or logic file, automatically the here image will get changes. This is called property. And event binding is used to respond to a user action. Whatever a user is doing in the screen, that is called or it may be a mouse event or keyboard event. First, if you are clicking a button or double click button, left click, right click, then mouse over, mouse on, or key press, key release. So for all these, we can call a method. So thereby we are passing data from the HTML file to the components. This is called event binding. For example, in this slide we have a coding called there is a button, we have tag called button. If you click that button, it may call the function called change message. The change message function will be available in the component or TypeScript file. So this method will change the message initially from hello to the welcome. So this is the event binding where user action triggers a function. Again, this is one direction. For the two-way binding, in Angular, data automatically sync between the UI and component. Example, if user types input box, the value updates in the variable automatically. So this is called binding. The pipes are generally used to transform the data from template before it is displaying it. For example, the syntax is we can use the interpolation for as double curly braces, and we can represent the variable and combined with the pipe name. So here uppercase pipe is used. So whatever value it is displaying in the paragraph, it will be automatically transformed into uppercase before it is getting displayed in the web. So why we use pipes? Because there are certain needs like formatting dates, formatting currency, converting the cases, and filter and improving the user interface readability for pipe concept. Services here are nothing but it is a dependency injection. It allows the service to be used inside another components. For example, whatever the data we have to share among multiple components, we can go for services called dependency injection, where we can reuse the services to other components. For example, a student service can provide student data to multiple components. Take a ERP system where a student admission details, the student nominal roll number with their name can be reflected in all other or can be shared among all the modules. For example, data from admission module to the standard to the student academic module for attendance purpose as well as mark entry purpose. So whatever components we are designing, the same data should be get reflected or shared among multiple components. That is, with the help of services or dependency injection, we can utilize this. Routing helps navigate between pages without reloading. For example, we can go from home page to the about or contact page. So without the page reloading process, in single page itself, the entire we can navigate from one page into another page. That is the advantage of the routing in Angular. The last but not least, the directives modify human behaviors where we can have keywords like ng, if ng for ng may be used for to show or hide the elements, and ng for the loop data. And we come across forms. Angular provides two types of forms: template driven simple form and reactive forms. It is a complex form. So login with validation. It's automatically in custom validators are used to for special validation rules. You must contain uppercase and number in the length. In this, we have covered only the Angular fundamentals, including the components, modules, data binding, directives, services, routing, and forms. And these components or concepts are essential for developing modern web applications. So, in next section, we will implement practical examples. Thank you.